Hey, I'm Jason Harrell,
And I'm Justin Boyd.
and let's freaking do this.
Welcome to episode number 25 of Let's Freaking Do This. My name is Justin Boyd, and once again, I'm thrilled to be joined by my good friend, musician Jason Harrell. Jason, how you doing today?
So-called musician.
So-called.
That's what I'm going to say. So-called musician.
You're in the big time now. And
Oh, yeah, the big time.
You know, in the big time is how you met our guest. Why don't you introduce who we have
Oh,
today?
yeah, that's right. We got Mason Server from Mason and the Gen Line. Mason and I met this past weekend. Well, actually, technically, it was last week, Thursday. Played a couple of shows.
Yes, we did. Jason's a heavy hitter. Don't let him lie to you.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Visual evidence that y'all met right there.
That's right. We were actually, this is not like photoshopped. We were actually in the same place. And this is the picture. Yeah, this is the night that Mason wore a shirt. So
And we're that good looking in real life,
right.
man.
In real life. These are not filters, ladies and gentlemen.
We don't need them.
These are just stunning good looks. That's it.
So, Mason, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you.
No, thank you guys for having me. I'm glad to do it.
And you're coming to us from Lubbock, right?
Yep, from Lubbock, Texas. It's actually been a great day today, weather-wise. Lubbock has good days, but our springs are very difficult, and I hope we're at the end of it. It's just windy. It might be cold. It might be hot, but mostly just wind all the time. So we've kind of got a little stretch where it's been a nice, calm, beautiful day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got Texas covered pretty well. I'm in Houston. You're in Lubbock. Jason, you're in the Austin area. So we're kind of, all spread across the Lone Star State here.
We're definitely not close.
No.
No. Well, that's what we were just talking about earlier. Like, we've actually never done an in-person podcast on this show. We talked about it a time or two, trying to figure out how to do it. But the difficulty in that is actually being in person with someone and coming up with a schedule that fits out and that fits everybody's, everybody else's routine, and then also being able to be in that place with the equipment that we need to work off of. I don't know. Like, I use we both use, actual studio microphones and stuff, because we're, like I said earlier, we're very much professionals on this show.
This is episode 25, so
episode 25.
This is a long running podcast.
You know what? It is long running. You know what? The next thing, if we do this again one of these days, I'll be honest. I read the email today about how this was supposed to work, and it sent me into a panic. And then I had to translate to my Spanish only speaking wife, who was at home, to try to orchestrate how to get all this going. But next time I'm going to have a mic too, is what I'm getting to. I didn't get that far. I just got the earbuds this time.
That's okay.
Well, no, you sound good, and you're
Good.
You're a lead singer, so you have the voice. So we're hearing you loud and clear over here.
I hope so.
And we discovered the volume control right before we went live. So,
yeah,
like I said, very much professionals over here.
25 episodes. We're still learning, though. You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Don't stop.
So Mason, well, actually, I can back up a little bit and kind of explain how that show kind of came together, that we played last week. So, and this ties very much into your record. Eric Harrison is a friend of mine, and I've known him for quite a while. We actually were in a band together. We played maybe 2 or 3 shows together, and he played bass for my friend Russell Boyd, and then he did a lot of the recording for Russell's music as well. Was down there at 601. But we had these, Eric and you guys had these shows set up already, I believe. So we played in Denton on Thursday, and then Fort Worth on Friday. We did Dan Silverleaf and
Mm-hmm.
the Magnolia Motor Lounge at on Friday. Anyway, and Eric hit me up on text. He's like, "Dude, you know what we need to do? We need to get something lined up with us and Jaret Ray Reddick." And so I play fiddle and all the things with Jaret, and I'm like, "All right, well, I don't book those things, but I'll tell him about them and pass some
Right.
information along." And I thought,
So you were the connection. I didn't know if Eric is. There's so much to say about that guy. So first of all, he's the whole reason that we had ever had a shot at doing this, because he heard you guys were talking about earlier Facebook stuff during the pandemic, right? Well, pardon me. Me and the bass player in my band, Blaze, we were making live Facebook videos of us playing in the living room. Him like with a bass drum and a snare and a cymbal. And he's not even a drummer, really. You should see it. It's pretty crude. He did a good job, but it was just songs that I'd written over the years, and I wasn't doing anything with that stuff. And Eric saw one of those videos and said, "Let us produce this certain song." And so the Lose Tonight song is that one. And what really happened is we had no band. He produced the record, sent it back, and we were like, I can't believe it can sound like this. So it actually went song first, then the band out of it, and through a few different incarnations. But at any rate, what I was going to say is Eric, first of all, he's just a super, super great guy. And he's a Lubbock guy, but I didn't know him. He went to a different high school, a few years younger. And Blaze knew him, and that was the connection there. But very interesting, his mom and dad. So his mom, very beautiful lady, his mom. And I'm going to assume like probably very left-leaning kind of person. Okay. Not to delve into that world, but I would guess that. Okay. And his dad is like super West Texas football coach kind of guy, but they owned a venue here in Lubbock. God, I'm forgetting the name of the place. Tokyo Joe's is what it was called. But they had all these punk bands come through, like in the late 90s, early 2000s era. So I didn't know, long story short, I didn't know if Eric knew Jaret Reddick or not, because he knows a bunch of those guys. Plain white tees, stayed at their house, and, all this kind of stuff. So it's this very weird West Texas punk connection thing that kind of brought all of it together, because that's how Eric and Blaze knew each other, was through punk music in Lubbock. It's crazy. Weird
I knew
stuff.
that he had that. I knew that there was that connection to that venue for Eric, but there's a good chance that they did go through there at some point. I haven't talked to Eric about that. When we can get him on the podcast, we'll talk to him about that a little bit. But
they may have been. Bowling for Soup may have been too big by the time Tokyo Joe's came around to do that. I'm trying to think in time how that would have worked, but that's what I was wondering. I was like, I don't know if Eric knew him directly but he got to him through you.
Yeah. Well, and again, it was kind of funny because Eric got on stage and I think on Thursday night he said something on stage about like, he thanked me for helping put this together. And I'm like, I didn't do nothing.
Yeah, I just said, hey, do you want to do a show?
Hey. I mean, I said all kinds of good things about Eric, and I had already talked to Jaret actually about 601, which is a fantastic place. And he, what's funny about it is my experience with Eric hasn't really been, up until recently, experience with what he's done as a producer, but that's essentially what he did for you guys. Is he?
Oh yeah,
right. He kind of like you all sent him just sort of the
yeah. So, he saw on Facebook literally this, drum kit, acoustic guitar, crude recording thing of "Lose Tonight," our song "Lose Tonight." I sent. I've got enough stuff here to do some basic recording. So With a click track to, I guess, the tempo. I guess I set the tempo in hindsight, but I sent him acoustic guitar and vocals, and the song came back.
Mhm.
That's what I think he said. $500, and it's funny because Blaze said Eric wants to produce this song, and it'll cost $500. And I didn't really know what that even meant, but I was like, yeah, we could 250 and 250, we'll split it. So, and see what happens. But yeah, so his business partner, co-producer guy's a guy named Mike Ingber. Do you know him?
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, this guy's awesome. New York guy. He's, in fact, the first day we recorded with those guys, only Mike was there for a good little while.
Uh-huh.
And Mike has a different way about him.
Mhm.
West Texas people are immediately friendly and probably talk too much.
Yeah, he's
And-
quite a bit more reserved.
And then this Long Island guy or whatever. And at first we didn't know what to think of him, but I'm going to tell you what's critical about that very first meeting is he told me, play these songs that you guys are going to lay down. We had 4 or 5 of them. And right away in one of the songs, he says, don't play, whatever it is here, a G, play an F sharp, something of this nature. And I thought, man, really? And at any rate, it made the song.
Mhm.
Those guys are really, really good. That's the production side, not just
Right.
recording you. You know what I mean? In actually taking a song and going, man, there's something missing.
Mhm.
You need a bridge, but it needs to be 3 lines, not 2 lines.
Mhm.
And that's all about understanding the feel of it. Because that's the whole deal, is trying to get that whatever it is you're pushing.
Mhm.
In my stuff, I think most of it, at least this latest record, yes, the words matter, and for some people, words are a big deal. I really, it's about the feel of it. It's about the
Mhm.
emotion that the emotional message kind of you know what I mean? And
Right.
they're good about seeing what you're up to with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys sent him just like guitar and vocals, or you sent him that, like just basically you sent him that, right?
Yeah.
And did you have to go back and recut that song, or did you for any
No,
part of it? Or?
no. So I sent them a couple, 2 or 3 acoustic passes, and they use some of that because I can hear it in it.
Uh-huh.
But then I sent like 3 or 4 full vocal passes through the song.
Right.
That's I don't have experience with other producers, so I don't know if that's the standard way of doing it or not. But when we do it now, I'll usually sing the song all the way through 3, 4 times,
Mhm.
and then come back and hit critical parts 3 or 4 times again on their own.
Mhm.
So they have this stack of options.
Yeah.
Of what to choose from, what you're doing vocally, which is good, because if you had to do it in one shot, you'd be sunk. Yeah, I would. You know what I mean? That it's better
Right.
to take the best parts of take 1 and the best parts of take 2 and 3 and 4 or whatever, and put all that together than try to lay down this masterclass performance.
Yeah. I kind of went through making a rookie mistake type of thing recently with a song that I sent off to Jaret for fiddle, and I had only sent 1 take. I mean, I think they're going to use it. I think it's going to be fine. But he's like, next time, give me like 4 passes at least.
You said, there you go. That you want it. There you go. Yeah. And in an ideal world, that's how it would be, right? And every time I go in there and sing one, the target is to be, first of all, because it lightens my workload. I would love just go in there, sing it once, and they say, "My God, that was unbelievable. Get out of there." Because that's the sooner that pressure is off to try to lay something down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We always do that last too. They want the other rough parts to be there when you sing the vocal. And at first I didn't understand what that was about, but you want that slick guitar part. You want that organ or whatever in there. so that it feels more like what it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so you put a little extra on there with when that other stuff behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. You feel it more. And also, when you're going in there and you've given, the producer has taken their pass at it and sort of just like helped guide where the emphasis is really going to be. Some of those phrases may change up too. You may have to change the phrases, and you've got the additional instruments in there, like you said, the organs but so you guys had this recent record that you just put out, because I always like to ask people about like their strategy for releasing music, because I don't understand it at all. I don't understand the strategies for anybody. Like I don't understand how it works. I mean,
hang in there. I'm gonna close this window real quick. Hang on. Yeah, the strategy thing. I'd be glad to talk about it, but I will admit the chief strategizer in the band is Blaze. I didn't get all of it. Hang on. It's a little bay window. I thought I could kill it. Let's see. He's the chief strategist.
Justin, that Blaze on Thursday night was rocking a Cannibal Corpse shirt on stage. So I thought we were just like meant to be friends.
Sometimes Blaze he bought some buckskin pants, man, that had fringe coming down the side of them. Because I have some fancy pants too, man. The zipper broke on my favorite pair, but they have skulls. It's a black pair of pants with little skull conchos running down the side of them.
Nice.
You know what's funny is people like Marco from West Texas Exiles, right? And he was with Dirty River Boys, so this is a guy who's played, gigantic shows all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Dude, where'd you get those pants, bro?" And it blows people's mind that what I tell them is, man, Google Rockstar pants, dude. That's it's that simple. Put Rockstar pants in there and they'll come right up.
What was I going to ask you? Oh yeah. Well, there's the EP that you put out in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the full album that just came out in March. But you guys, I guess the question I was trying to get to is like the strategy of releasing singles before the thing. So you guys released three singles before the EP, before you put out, and it's a 5-track,
which makes up the bulk of the EP.
Right.
To be honest, I don't know if, like I said, the chief strategist is Blaze, but I think I can speak for him in the sense that we always talk about these things anyways. We've tried to do things like strategize on releasing stuff that's like winter themed in the winter, and
right, how
many singles per, and it seems to be hit or miss as to how effective any of that is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, because all of this has changed now, that it doesn't seem like radio is a governing body anymore, really. You know what I mean? Because of Spotify, because of Apple Music and all that, you do what you want pretty much.
Right.
For example, with radio people, I'm not sure why they will literally like ask you which one of these songs that you want to push. And my personal opinion is play which one you like. Unless there was a cohesive strategy, specifically it's this one, this is the hit. But I find that's hard to pick. The one you like, even as the writer, might not be the one the people like.
Yeah. So do y'all have have y'all invested in like radio promotion at this point?
We haven't paid a penny for any radio so far. And there might be, you might eventually have to pay that price. We're kind of in a different position probably than a lot of bands that are sort of in loosely in the genre of Texas music
Mhm.
because we're older guys. We've got jobs, fixing to have a kid at an old age, actually, first kid. Um, so it's like the ultimate side project band in a way. But we stand behind the product and we feel like the band is getting better and better and the writing is getting better and stuff. So it's weird for us to know how much to play the game, you know.
Right.
I work. My dad started a company. We do metal fabrication. We build agricultural stuff, specifically cotton ginning machinery is what we do mostly. And I'm not a partner, but it's one of those things where pretty clearly at least a part of that business someday probably will be mine.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy that works with us that is sort of a partner now that's like around our age who's an awesome guy. So what I'm getting at is I don't know if we want to jump off and go play Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Newark, you know, back to the, you know, yes, I would like to do all that, but it would have to work with our lives because our lives came before, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like we're 22 and we got nothing to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's more on the line than that, you know?
Well, you also are at a stage in your life where you have, I mean, like you said, you have nothing to lose, but also you're not working a job that you can just easily replace the job if you were to walk off and, you know, go do a 2-week run or something, and then you come back and you got to spend the next 3 months figuring out what to do for money.
And I'm not really qualified to do anything else. Like Jason and I were talking about this. I've got 2 degrees, man, like him, one in philosophy and actually a master's in history, which I suppose makes me a decent bullshitter is pretty much what that qualifies me to do. But in my whole life, I've been a hand worker. I was a cabinet maker for a long time. And then the metal fabrication stuff is what I'm doing now. And in this situation, my dad would let me leave and come back. It's, you know what I mean? I got an awesome dad, right? We're very different, but I got a great dad. But another angle of that is, you know, I've got a wife now. Blaze is fixing to get married. Both of us are expecting kids. The guitar player, Cole, he's got kids, 2 of them. Our drummer and auxiliary player don't. But even them at this stage in their life, if we were to go tour, this thing needs to generate some cash to hold the bottom line. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
So we're just kind of playing. What do they call those guys? Those cowboys that they'll go out and do a little ranch work on the weekends. I think they call them pavement pounders. You know, there's city people being cowboys on the weekend. We're kind of worker guys being musicians on the weekend right now. You know what I mean?
I mean,
I'd be open to it if the money was right, you know?
Absolutely. I'm in the same, I mean, I'm in a very similar situation. Probably the difference is I can probably get away with going for longer periods of time away because my job is, I work from home. Like I literally work from this chair.
Yes.
And I can take it with me if I go somewhere. Which is what I do when I go play shows in Dallas or wherever in the DFW area. I just stay at Jaret's house and work during the day. And then,
Blaze is that way. He works from home as well, so he can take it anywhere. But I got to be at the. I welded all day today. That's what I did. I've been welding all day.
You can't exactly weld from a van or something from
no.
like 200 miles away.
That's a funny deal. What people that welders are, a lot of it's because a huge majority are male, but it's funny because it's a constant deal of talking shit to one another about who's the best one. and in our shop, there's 5 other guys, and I don't weld very much. I'm the foreman. But when I do, I make sure and tell them, y'all come over here and look how daddy does it. Tell them stuff like that, you know. Then they proceed to make fun of it, say it's going to break. It's like a welding tradition. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Do you ever put on your music in the background while you're welding? So that
The guys do.
Yeah.
The guys do sometimes. When the album came out, one of the guys, Luis, Huicho is his nickname. He played it all the way through twice, to the point that it was actually kind of irritating by the end of it. You know what I mean? Like, change it, man. I don't want to hear it 3 times through for sure.
That album is Sangre, right? So I'm saying it
That's
correctly?
right.
Yep.
That's right. Blood.
Yeah.
And that's just a loose. The song that's the namesake of the album was written in this room right here, and all I was thinking about is how the place that you grow up, and it can be anywhere. West Texas people are always so proud of our dirty little flat spot out here, but everybody should be proud of where they come from. I hope they are. I mean, if you didn't have a good life, it would be different, and I understand that. I've been very fortunate to have a pretty awesome life, and I'm very proud of my area, and that's your blood. Those are your people. It's not blood kin like blood, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It crosses the boundaries of race and gender and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Those are your folks, the people you grew up with. So I feel like that's important, but I also don't want to be some sort of fierce regionalist person that doesn't understand that there's awesome people everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've been one place in my life yet where I didn't find good folks, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Except for Facebook.
So,
That's the
Yeah,
that's
and
the
Twitter.
only place.
Yeah.
That's the only place. No, I'm just kidding.
the real places, though. Now, Mason, earlier we were talking about radio, and yeah, I don't think radio has. I mean, it doesn't have the same impact as it used to have, but like your music is very radio friendly. To me, it is. Are y'all being played in Lubbock and in the across the state, or
Yeah,
how does that work out?
It's good to have this conversation because we actually need to organize a push on this a little bit better. But we do get played in Lubbock. We get played in Amarillo. We get played in Abilene, and fortunately, recently we've been getting play on the ranch in Fort Worth. So that's a pretty good chunk of a lot of the listening area. One of the KOKE radio followed us the other day on
That's Austin.
in Austin on Twitter, I think, and we need to get in touch with them and in Houston,
Yep.
and anywhere. It's just we don't. This is where it comes in. What you were talking about, management, all that kind of stuff. The things that you pay people to take care of, we've kept internal right now. And in hindsight, God willing, I'm alive in another 2 or 3 years or whatever. I never try to take that for granted, right? But in a few years, I might look back at this interview and say, man, how ignorant I was at the time of even thinking you could do it on your own or whatever. But I guess the big idea is right now we kept it in house and we've had a pretty casual approach to what we're doing. But we had the conversation about management on the way back from Fort Worth the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Just touched on a little bit, like, at some point, here's the issue though, going full circle. If you get that management person that can push radio and push shows, you are going to be in those shows in Tallahassee, and which is badass, right? That's awesome.
Right.
But you got to figure out how to make all that work,
Yeah, you have to be able to. You have to be able to get that guarantee that's going to make it worth it.
Yeah,
to-
if
to-
you go
to
all
come
in,
out
you
there.
have to go all in. There's no kind of in between. Like right now, both of y'all are kind of doing in between, and the music on both sides is great, but then it's like if you really, really want to do this, then you
That's right.
have to go for it. Yeah, it's
And-
tough.
and Yeah, for sure. And I think if I was betting, I would bet that a real push is in the cards.
Yeah.
Because Yeah, if you got a shot to play music for a living, I mean, my
Do it.
God, let's not lie to ourselves, you know. Eh, But I told Blaze the other day, I won't play New York City unless it's Madison Square Garden. That's the bottom line. If they're not going to have us at the Garden, I'm not coming at all.
Yeah. I mean, anything under like 15,000 seats is nothing. I mean,
No, we really did talk about how we are not near as cocky as that sounds. We were actually talking about how cool it would be before this ride is over, which I hope it doesn't really end, but how badass would it be to play New York and Los Angeles? Just to say you did it. You know what I mean? Those specific places, because it's coast to coast, two great cities.
Yeah.
You know, that would be really cool to do. I'd love to get up there and play in the Northeast just to shock those people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would love just to culture shock them right in the nuts.
Just get up there in your tank top.
Yeah, man.
And
Cowboy boots and
the leather pants with the skulls on them.
yeah, skull pants and no shirt.
I mean, depending on the weather, of course, you know, it's colder.
Right.
We're used to Texas, but it's different other places.
Yeah, you'd have to
true.
go in the summer for sure.
Yeah, the radio push thing is another one of those aspects of all this that I definitely don't understand. I know that people spend a lot of money on it. I have no idea what actually happens with that money and how it all works.
So look at there, Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, Savannah, Georgia.
I'd love to go to Savannah, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, get us both booked, but we need a guarantee of like $5,000 each.
No, that's right, Jason. I don't know what they do. The big question we have is, what do they do that you can't do? And I'm assuming what they can do that you can't do is that they already have an ear in the places. That has to be what it is, because this day and age, you can find whatever radio station and every email that they got associated with it. You know, so and so in Bossier City. You know, the radio director is, you know, so and so. There's his email. You can shoot an email. Right. I'm assuming it's that they're in the end, and they probably protect all that because that's their job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have a feeling it's a lot like a lot of things, right? Where this one person is doing their sort of like ground level work with whatever artist, and then they are able to get that artist starts to blow up, right? And then they can turn around and say, come to me for your radio promotion because I've got this guy.
Right.
This guy, I help this guy. And then it's sort of, and then the radio people who you want to get in their ear, they probably also pay attention in the same way. Like, oh, this is so-and-so's radio promoter. Let's see what he's got. That kind of thing. We're just guessing here, but I know some people who've put the money into it. I just I've never done it myself. I never talked to anybody directly about who does the actual work of it. You know,
did those people that you know reap?
Did it work?
The benefits?
Did it work?
Yeah.
You know, it works. I mean, it gets the songs on the radio stations. You know. I think it probably depends on what the end goal is, though. You know, like, does it mean the places that you're playing is packed out every time? You know, not necessarily. You know,
that's a tough reality to the music thing. That is one thing that I've kind of learned is, and you guys are probably similar, or maybe similar. When I grew up, you know, and discovered rock and roll, basically, you know, from that point on, the logic was basically learn a guitar, you know, write some songs, and then pretty much it skipped to stadiums and chicks. You know what I mean? Like there's a big gap in there.
That was the dream.
And it's funny because one thing I've learned, a couple little insights is that take like Jaret, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Jaret Ray Reddick has played gigantic festivals and arenas and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And he was damn sure right in front of me the other day playing at Magnolia Motor Lounge in Fort Worth.
right.
And there was probably like, 60, 70 people in there or something like that, which it was actually quite fun. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Sometimes a small room can be a live room, but there's very few bands out there that have that guaranteed, say apart from like mega large scale, Rolling Stones, Foo Fighters or something like that,
Right.
a few steps down from that, there's very few bands that can go and guarantee at a club like Magnolia, say, we're going to sell it out 300 people, 400 people. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
We can do that sometimes in Lubbock and sometimes we can't. One advantage we have playing at home is because we have a university here, which it's different than Austin, right? Because Austin's so big. Yes, you have University of Texas, but Texas Tech is very concentrated in Lubbock because the population's so much smaller. Right. So we play the blue light here a lot, and you get a lot of built-in crowd of college kids that are going to be there whether you were or not. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
right.
At any rate, we've gotten to play some great crowds, but I've learned, I guess the insight I'm saying is even the big dogs, if you want to play music, you're going to have nights that you're going to have to muscle through a set and you're not going to feel like a rock star.
Right.
That's actually more rare than the other way around. There, and I think even if you're successful, a lot of times, you have to really try to work to put energy out there, and sometimes they're just not going to give it back either way.
Yeah.
Some places might just not dig what you're doing, or some places are the people like it and they're just reserved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's certain places, certain venues that you'll go to in the kind of music that we're doing that like you said, have kind of a built-in crowd, a built-in appeal. I think it's just, well, an example is at Green Hall. There's a lot of people selling out there. You have a show there on a Saturday night, and you're somewhat well known. You've got a very good chance, if not almost a guarantee, of selling it. From what I understand, it seems like there's a big chance of you selling out. Same artist goes down the road, whatever it is, 100 miles or whatever, and goes to Waco and plays in Waco at a venue there, and you may not come anywhere near to selling out that crowd.
Yeah, there'll be about 17 people out there. What kind of capacity does Green Hall have?
I believe they said it was 800 people.
So that's a good size. That's a cool size room. We see there's an example of if you were to put it on a map, like and I do it mentally all the time, where we've gotten to playing wise, geographically speaking. We got to play in Red River, New Mexico one time at a festival thing, which was really it was actually quite a treat. That was the most badass visual thing ever. That you're playing it and in front of you, is this huge big mountain valley thing. It was awesome. But as far west, I guess that's as far west as we've gone. Of course, we play in Amarillo. I guess that's probably the northern boundary. And I suppose east is Fort Worth, and then south, we played in Austin once, but it was actually just me and Blaze, and the drummer Trinidad for West Texas Exiles was literally just sitting in. So it was a 3-piece with a not built to be a only guitar you're hearing guy. Me, playing guitar. So we haven't really gotten to play Austin even as our real band now.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to get, and we will get to Austin. I'd love to do the Green thing. I'd love to play San Antonio. Spotify tells me that behind Dallas, and not the Metroplex, Dallas itself, San Antonio is the second highest place where people play our music.
Yeah. Well,
So
you got to get out there then.
yeah, I love San Antonio.
That's the interesting thing about Spotify, and that with all of its, there's always the pros and the cons, but you can get behind, you can actually log in and see where are people listening to me.
Oh yeah,
Now that's where I need to go book, because you can actually, I mean, I've never done this, but I've heard people say that you can basically tell when in your booking emails or whatever, it's like, here's what my data shows about people listening in that area. I think I have a good chance of having a good turnout or whatever.
Have you seen Spotify for artists?
I have, yeah.
I mean, this thing's crazy. There's the so you might be able to see this. There's the number of listeners in the last month list that we have. Let's see if it will
Dallas,
adjust.
San Antonio, yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Houston,
Yep.
Houston and San Antonio are pretty
What-
neck and neck there.
What's really badass is you get down here, it'll go 50 cities deep, and you find some really crazy stuff. I mean, for one thing, it goes foreign way earlier than you would think. We're heavy in Norway, man. The Norwegians really they really love our work. Oslo's a big Ginland city. Stockholm, Sweden too. My dad said they probably like it because I look like a Viking.
There you go.
But we don't have any, as far as I know, we don't have any of that Norwegian bloodline. It's all that.
Did you do the 23andMe or whatever the other one is?
No, but my dad did, and you're not the first person I've told this in public because I enjoy the story. My dad did it, so obviously I'd have to see my mom's to get an idea of full picture of my own, but it was kind of the standard white boy package. I felt like, it was like largely English, Irish with a significant German part, little touches of like French and Dutch stuff in there. But the best part was my dad has 85% more Neanderthal DNA than the average 23andMe user. So my granddad, his dad, told me that's why you have a broad back and a small mind. because it just I mean I'm heavy caveman, man, is what I'm getting at. Heavy caveman lineage.
I don't think so. Whatever it was I did, it was no, it wasn't. It was actually Ancestor. I think it was Ancestor.com, because Ancestor.com will do a similar thing, a DNA thing, and I got similar to what you got, except for that was it. Like, it was all just the white boy stuff. It was just like it was English. So it was England, Ireland, Scotland, and then maybe like a Norway thing or something.
Yeah, straight out of the British Isles. Yeah.
Yeah, there was like nothing. There was that one Norway or whatever it was that was the one oddball thing, but that was like 3% or something. Everything else was just all like,
it's funny. I wouldn't dare spin us down a dangerous road, because race is a tricky thing to talk about, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
You know what's funny is white people are funny about that, because they tend to desire to have either some of that Nordic stuff, Scandinavian stuff, Sweden, Norway, whatever, or German, or even better, if you have something fancy like Italian. You know what I mean? Something. You know what I mean? It's something that makes you something
Spicy.
outside of something spicy outside of the standard white boy. But I tell people all the time, especially in a country that at the moment sometimes racial stuff is touchy, is there are a lot of good old standard white boys out there. If you were a non-white listener, trust me, there's a bunch of them that are good old boys. You know what I mean? It's not bad to not be exotic, is what I'm getting at. I wish I had something, but it's just the standard white dude.
Well, my family, I grew up with stories about how my great grandmother supposedly like walking out of the woods, and everybody just assumed that she was Native American, and that was the story that was told. It wasn't great, maybe it was great grandmother, whatever it was. That was told across my entire family. Everybody grew up believing it. And I took that test. It ain't true.
It wasn't.
She
She just had a good tan or something.
Yeah, she was just getting her steps in, trying to get her 10K every day. Stay healthy.
Yeah, that's why she was out in the woods.
That's another one. That's another one that people do is man, I got a lot of Cherokee, man.
Right.
Cherokee, and you're looking at this redheaded dude, like you ain't got no Cherokee, bro. At any rate, I find that stuff pretty interesting. I love. That's why I hope the best. We were talking about Twitter earlier, and I hope the best for this country, because I believe that the experiment that we have is awesome. I love getting the chance to be around people of different cultures. I eat that stuff up. And, you get in talks about cultural appropriation and stuff like that. And I think about this a lot because we use a lot of, we have a certain aesthetic about us. I mean, the album's called Sangre, right? And I don't want people to feel like I'm a culture vulture or whatever. And perhaps I am, maybe I am, but I don't feel that way.
You do at least one song in Spanish, right?
I do. But the reason I don't feel like it's inauthentic, and I hope people don't take it that way, is because it's not inauthentic. In my own house, we don't speak English in here.
Yeah.
I've got to teach my wife or get her some lessons would be easier probably, because it's hard to do. When I get home, I speak good enough Spanish that we can function in Spanish. So at any rate, what I'm getting to is, I don't want to rob anybody's culture, but my point is, what do they say? Imitation is the highest form of flattery, right?
Flattery.
Yeah. So, and I believe that to be true. I really, really love Mexican culture. All of them. I enjoy all of that stuff. So anyway, spiel. There's the philosophy head stuff going off, right?
Yeah. So I got a question for you. First of all, when did you pick up the guitar? How old were you when you started playing the guitar? I'm
over here beer belching. I apologize, but it's so crude. It happens, right? I can answer that question accurately. I went on a summer trip at the end of 8th grade with a friend of mine named James Evans. And him and his dad, who's deceased, rest in peace, Cecil, was this awesome guy, incredible guy. They both played guitar, and they played well enough, even my buddy in 8th grade, that they could blues. They could do 12-bar blues on one solo and another solo, and I mean, he was a kid. James was a kid that could rip. And so, long story short, I had to have been 13, 14. And after that trip, came home, got the little Fender starter kit, acoustic. Always start acoustic. I tell people that all the time. They want to, if any young person asks me, I want to get a Les Paul. Well, no, you don't need a Les Paul. You need that shitty acoustic right there with the action about that far up. that way you learn how to actually play one. So yeah, and not too long after that, I got an electric and loved it. I will say this, I think you'll understand. You guys will understand where I'm coming from because you're music heads. The guitar for me was always a tool for songs. I didn't desire to be Eddie Van Halen. Yeah. At first, I would learn licks and stuff, and try Purple Haze and stuff like that, But it was always, once I started to learn chords, I was like, I see how this works. That G chord makes a kind of happy sound, and if I jump over there to that A minor, that makes a kind of sad sound. That 7th chord makes this tweener sound. That's how is how we're going to shape stories like that.
So were you writing songs? Like, did you?
I did from a pretty quick. Yeah. As soon as I could hold a chord structure together.
do you feel like your songs were always like? I don't even know if you consider like what do you consider the music that you make? Like what do you have a genre that you consider it? Do you consider it country? Or what do you consider it?
Man, I don't know. I don't think I ever intended to make country music.
Mhm.
I think that I am more like an Americana indie uh indie rock minded guy
Mhm.
that is country himself.
Yeah.
So those songs come out that way,
Right.
what unintentionally. You know, I'm wanting to be Gavin Rosdale, but it comes more like Tracy Lawrence. Tracy
That's
Lawrence, the greatest artist of all time, all genres.
there you
Hey,
go.
I put that on Twitter one day. You remember Tracy Lawrence had that era in the '90s where he had that real sleazy blonde facial hair, and
Yeah.
he was always wearing those flamboyant '90s Western shirts. And I put the picture of him on Twitter, and I said that's the greatest artist of all time. And this guy that follows me in British Columbia, uh, he he's very direct, and he just wrote back, "Are you serious?" You know, and it was like, no, I like the guy, but no, he's not really the greatest of all time. That guy was like, does this guy really think Tracy Lawrence is the best? But no, at any rate, man, I don't know what you call it. I don't know what you call the music that we make. It has to have some strain of like indie stuff. But what's strange is uh, people have made comparisons that at first I thought were crazy, but I think they're not inaccurate actually. Like Pat Green. Some of it
Yeah.
sounds kind of like Pat Green. And that
Yeah.
was at first I almost thought that like uh, uh. And then that prompted me to kind of go back and listen to some Pat Green stuff again because it'd been quite a while since I'd listened to that stuff. And
Mhm.
actually it's great stuff.
Mhm.
I'm proud to have the comparison, you know.
Yeah. I agree. I listened to well, I already had this impression, but I listened to a podcast that you were on, and they were talking about what was the podcast?
Was it Country and Cold Cans?
Maybe that's what it was. I don't remember what the name of it was. I can't even remember what it was. I should remember. But anyway, they were talking about that the sound that you've got kind of harkens back to kind of like the early 2000s type of red dirt or
Yes.
Texas country kind of thing. I mean, Texas country, including like cross Canadian ragweed and everybody from Oklahoma and all those. But that sound, uh, that kind of, it feels like it takes some of that uh, alternative rock from the '90s and
Yes.
that kind of brings it over from the '90s and then gives it
Yes.
like a storytelling uh,
Yes.
bent, of maybe throw some acoustic guitar in there a little more or something, but it's always got that like rock edge to it.
I feel like, yeah, I think that's a great analysis because if I'm looking at what informed the music as far as like some of my just favorite stuff, I love Third Eye Blind,
Yeah.
like because it's super poppy.
Mm-hmm.
Like they still had nice crunchy guitars,
Mm-hmm.
but it has those melodies that are like I don't understand. You know how sometimes in the music world, pop is almost looked, or at least it used to be, almost looked down upon, right? And I'm like, no, dude, pop means popular. Like
Right.
the pop means you've made a melody or something that can cross a lot of heads. I would personally rather do that than try to appeal to, some super niche,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is, Texas shoegazer music or what. You know what I mean? I would rather it be like a little more open than that. And so yeah, the bands that I listened to that affected all that the songs. Some of the stuff that probably doesn't come out that I really love. I love. I'm a U2 guy.
Mm.
I love U2. I love that catalog. I got to say, I don't listen as much as I used to. I love Bruce Springsteen. Again, I don't. kind of have gone through those phases real heavy, and so much more. But no doubt the '90s stuff is heavy there, because that was the stuff that was hitting me at that critical period of soaking in how you do it.
Right.
And so yeah, it sounds like that stuff because we're of that era.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what informed our tastes.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting also though, because like with Eric producing you, and I listened to you guys and West Texas Exiles a lot this past few weeks, and well, basically everything I've really listened to that comes out of 601 Studios, it's got a very, I don't want to call it nostalgic because that's not right, because I don't want to admit that I'm old. but maybe it is nostalgic. But it's got like a, well, you described pop and right after you mentioned Third Eye Blind. And I think it's funny because if you put a band out there like that's like a 4-piece band with drums, bass, guitar, and nobody would ever call it pop now. You know what I mean?
Oh no. Yeah,
like
no.
it would be pop is like a much different thing, so like everything that comes out of that studio and that's produced by Eric has this very, I don't know how else to describe it, like very organic or authentic type of feel. Like it just there's you hear real instruments, you hear it's like and it's also got a little bit of that, like I can hear in West Texas
I can just
Exiles,
never
for example.
escape this. I can never escape this light. Hang on just a second. So, what can you hear in West Texas Exiles?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like I can hear Tom Petty and the Beatles and stuff.
Oh,
like,
yes.
influences.
Yes.
in West Texas Exiles.
Yeah, those guys. That is a very interesting experiment, and what they're doing. What they're doing is very unique, and those guys those songs are great. They have some awesome songs. All of every one of those guys is different. And I asked Eric if they have any trouble managing what song is going to make the cut for the next EP or whatever, because you've got for sure you've got 3 songwriters in there.
Right.
And then you got a highly opinionated Eric too. So, you know what I mean? I wondered how that worked, but he said egos haven't been a problem, and I can actually believe it because of that group of guys.
Yeah. No, they all just seem like a bunch of sweethearts.
They are.
Especially Trinidad.
Trinidad, he said, we were riffing on how to imitate this guy. Justin, I don't know if you know who this guy is or not, but he's actually a Lubbock guy too. But he's a Bear Hispanic dude, a little bit older than me, and I mean it just love just pours out of the guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. He is just awesome, but he's kind of like this. He'd be like, man, I want to tell you, brother, when you get up there and play those songs, man, I feel it in my heart, man. I feel it right here, man, in my heart. Like big physical gestures and stuff. He's intense. He's awesome.
So what's it like playing with those guys? How are those shows? We talked about it earlier. Let's kind of circle back. How are those shows with West Texas Exiles and Jaret Ray Reddick? How are those shows? Y'all played 2, correct, last week?
Uh-oh.
We lost your audio. Yeah, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I inadvertently hit it. No, those shows were awesome. So the first night, the Denton joint, Dan Silverleaf, is awesome. I knew when I walked in the door that show was going to be awesome because they have a nice stage, kind of a shallow room, wide but shallow, but the chairs were butted directly up next to the stage. So with little round tables, so bunch of chair space, little place to put your drink. So what does that tell you? That tells you these people are going to listen. This is a room where your show is the feature, not our beer drinking, which I don't mind the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm not in Spanish like presumido, like I'm not thinking that I'm a big shot. I like playing in a place where it's a beer joint and that's nobody cares is fine. But if you go to a place that they're there to listen, it's really special because you got a chance to showcase your songs to people that want to hear them,
And that's what you're up there for anyway, right? You want them to hear, you want them to listen. I've played plenty of the beer joint deals, plenty. I'll play plenty more before I'm done, but
yeah, because they make up about 95% of them.
That's right. But yeah, getting in there with people who want to hear you, they were there to listen. That's for sure.
It was great, and Magnolia Motor Lounge. I have to be respectful of the folks and a bunch of them that I know. Out here in Lubbock, the blue light music is kind of almost like a scene in of itself, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like the meeting place of the Texas country scene in Lubbock. And Magnolia Motor Lounge was always sort of known as the one in Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. Luckily, we did one show at the previous location.
Right.
Which I'll be honest, they were very cool and everything. It wasn't our most greatest show of all time, probably, but it's a very different feeling. It was a very different feeling place in downtown Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. Glass on the outsides of the building. You guys go to that place? Y'all ever been to that one?
I've not.
I loved that it was in downtown Fort Worth. It was it made you feel like a big shot outfit, going down in the tall buildings and all that kind of stuff, and a very kind of a slick looking room, it was very cool. But this new place is in a strip mall, and a whole lot more earthy, and it's, in my opinion, and like I said, I didn't play the other one a whole bunch of times, so I don't have a ton of history there, but it's awesome. We've played there twice and had two really good rooms. People clap after the songs, very receptive, very, very cool, trendy Fort Worth people.
Yeah.
Some bimbos too, man. Did you see those girls, Jason?
No.
Yes,
I did. Yes, I did. I know what
there was a little troop of bimbos, man. They were at least my age, and I think older.
You know what that was, right?
What was it?
You know what that was, right? Did you hear
what?
At the beginning when they first walked in? There was one girl that was already there, and the other girl comes in, or maybe there was two girls there, and they come in, and when they spot each other, it's just and they're like, "Happy divorce party." So that's what they were doing. They were celebrating one of them was getting a divorce.
I gotta tell you, I am not remotely surprised that was. It looked like it. And the other thing is, she was probably happy. She was probably super happy too, because by the look of her and the
idea,
the amount of plastic that was involved in the lady. Bless her heart. I'm not trying to attack this person. We don't know her name or anything, so we can't get in trouble. But she probably got a hell of a little settlement out of that whole deal. You know what I mean? She probably got ex-husband in the oil and gas business that would break off a big old bite and send it her way. So she's free with that money. It was interesting. I just thought it was funny.
I want everybody to be happy and live their life.
Me too.
Right,
I just thought it was funny because it was like sometimes songwriters even talk about it. They usually say Dallas more than Fort Worth in this respect, but they'll talk about Dallas having fast women and that kind of stuff like that. And truth be told, if any of those ladies are listening, actually y'all are real attractive women. I just was noticing that they were probably of my they probably at least my age plus some or whatever, and they got a few years on them like me. That little bit of a used car looking situation.
They were having fun, that's for sure.
They were good. They were a good crowd too. I think they actually gave us some money too. I should be careful how I talk about these people.
You guys, at both places, you guys put on a hell of a show. Eric was telling me there for a while you guys were rehearsing something like 6 days a week or something like that. Were you putting
Gosh,
a lot of time with that?
Well, so that was the first iteration of the band,
Right.
and I always got to be real careful about what I say, because we went and played a July 4th thing in Turkey, Texas, and I guess it was 2021, and Blaze left the band for a little while, and it kind of all that's kind of, there was probably some personal stuff and all kinds of stuff. At any rate, long story short, me and Blaze talked a month or two down the road. Well, let's get this rolling again, and we went with a different set of musicians, because there was a certain way of life that we were having. So yeah, we were practicing several times a week, but it was because all of us were essentially single, and just having these massive beer drunks on a Tuesday,
Right.
with Marshall amps and stuff. It was fun, right? And these guys that were playing with us are awesome people and awesome musicians. They really are. But I think Blaze kind of stepped away thinking, I don't like the direction this is going. I just kind of blindly kept moving forward, sort of. I went and recorded some stuff in that period of time. And then, like I say, Blaze, like, man, we can't stop. We got to be doing this together. I said, I agree. So we made some lineup changes, and it was for the better because of the sound we were trying to produce more than anything else. You know what I mean? Nobody was making us lifestyle wise party our asses off. That was our choice as much as anything. It was, those musicians are really, really good musicians, but I think they're better at doing a different style of music. But both of those guys truly were more like metal guys, and so, for example, our drummer Matt now has played in a bunch of Texas music bands. That's his bread and butter. Our guitar player Cole, he's something else, man. This guy's, I really, really like him as a guitar player. But I tell people all the time, I'm glad that we have him. And I'm not trying to shortchange his talent, but he's not a blues solo rip guy. He's a stylist. And that's kind of what we needed. He plays to add to the song. You know what I mean? There are very few times that he takes off and shreds an impromptu solo. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just a different mode. You know what I mean? So, at any rate, those things, when you have a band and end up making lineup changes, it's hard because sometimes people can move past that and sometimes they can't. And I'm not throwing stones. Some of those situations from the past member thing, I think there's probably still some bad blood, and I don't blame those people. Let's put it that way. I don't, if they don't like me, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Because some of that stuff gets in the old dirty business. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you so you're a shop foreman, like in your your day job, so to speak, for whatever, that's the term. It's your day job. But like I guess what I'm trying to get around to saying, it's like, have you had to fire somebody like face to face like that in the past?
Let's see. Um, I don't think I've made an actual fire, but about 2 weeks ago, a guy who's no longer with us, and I like this guy, dude. But he had several different times where he either didn't show up um, or he showed up late or whatever. And the problem is he was buddies with a bunch of other guys that worked there. So they would tell me he was active on Facebook or Snapchat at 4 a.m, you know? So I told this guy I said, guy, if you don't show up again, we're going to fire you. It's that simple. And he quit. He quit shortly thereafter. Yeah. I really liked the dude, but I know that he was, because in this case it was, and maybe it happened, I don't know, but some family member passed away or something. It's like, well, why were you drinking tequila at 5 a.m, dude? I know this because, you need to tie up your loose ends. If you're gonna pull all those excuses, your family's too close here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, the firing people, those kind of things like that. I think sometimes people get the impression that I'm an aggressive type person, because I give people that impression sometimes. I have a lot of tattoos and stuff like that. I'm not super big guy, but decent stature guy. But that's actually not me at all. I never was a big fighter. I've been in a couple of fighting conflicts, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't come out on the good end of either one of them. So, you know what I mean? I never was.
I asked you. So I asked you the question. I asked you the question, kind of getting back to the band situation, because it's a hard thing to do, ain't it? Like to separate yourself from somebody like that, especially. I feel like, because I've had to fire people in my day job, but I feel like it's harder in a situation like that where you're doing music with somebody, because I know that you're not making a ton of money. It's not like they were like, it's not like you were cutting them off from like a huge income or whatever. But I think that makes it harder in some ways, because it's like y'all were kind of just, it's like you're kind of telling somebody you can't be friends anymore or something like.
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you this: there was two people involved in that, and one of the individuals, to this day, will reach out sometimes. Post something on my social media, say, he's just fantastic, and it's a shame that went the way it did. The other guy, I don't, he won't really talk to me, and it's like I said earlier, if somebody has bad blood for me over that, I don't blame them. I'm still not sure that what went down there was the correct moral choice.
Yeah.
But it was the correct music choice.
Yeah.
Not for reasons of ineptitude on the part of the musician. It was a style thing.
Yeah.
It was an approach. Yes, and also not just style of music, but an approach to the whole way of doing things. And I'm not claiming that one side is necessarily better than the other, but they were different approaches. Yeah. And so again, I can't also undermine the fact that the enterprise of Mason and the Gin Line is there's old kitty.
Yeah.
The enterprise of Mason and the Gin Line is not just me; it's Blaze Butler as well.
Yeah.
The band is ours. It always has been. It's the brain trust of the two of us, and we felt like a new direction would be better, and it just ends up causing some stuff that might be one of those things that you never do fix.
Yeah. I think that's just a hard thing. Like, I don't know if it did probably isn't even necessarily just a musician thing. It's just like as you're living your life and you're interacting with people, you sometimes find that, or you're working with them or whatever you're doing, and you just sometimes find that it just doesn't make sense to move forward like doing that with that person anymore, you know?
Without going too personal, it's I mean just sort of personal. I had the last person that I was dating before I met my wife was an awesome person. Okay. And had a certain vulnerability to them. We had an age difference. I was quite the older. She was from another place. And it's one of those things where I think I know that if I had told that person, stick around here, that would have been the path.
Right.
But I didn't think that was the right path.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that I made the choice that I made. But it's bad to care about somebody and have to go a different direction.
Yeah.
And essentially have to cut that communication off, because that's the kind of guy I am. I'm not bragging. I'm simply saying when I'm committed to somebody, that's what's up. That's what's going on. There's not going to be side conversations, all this kind of stuff. My wife speaks to her ex-husband quite a lot, but they have 2 children together.
Right.
That's the difference. I don't share any of that with that person. And I don't know. A person could definitely make the case that if you care about somebody outside of that romantic world, you ought to check up on them. But when it comes to that particular thing, that could cause trouble. You know what I mean? Not because cheating or whatever. Don't even live in the same place. Yeah. But it could give the wrong impression.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at too is, Jason, to your point, that thing of having to end something like that is a damn heartbreaking thing. It really is. It eats at you, and sometimes you just have to literally be cold and hard.
Yeah.
And some people are good at that kind of stuff. So some successful people are good at that kind of stuff. They'll cut your throat and move right on down the line, you know. But there's other people, and I think I'm one of the other ones that stuff will eat at me forever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You really strike me as somebody who's, well, for one thing, you write songs, right?
Yeah. If you're writing songs, you're probably a feelings person for sure.
You're probably a sensitive person to begin with, to some extent, unless you're writing different kinds of songs, I guess. But you know, you write the kinds of songs you write, so you're an introspective person who. And I have several times in this conversation, whatever the topic was, you'll immediately say, well, there's also this other perspective. Like, you seem to be that kind of person.
Oh, for sure.
That's just
no doubt.
You're always trying to take all the perspectives and keep an open mind for there to be some other way of looking at it. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's it's hard for guys like you to guys like me. I feel like I'm a similar way to make those kinds of breaks with relationships or whatever. And it sucks. It does eat on you, but like you said, you also said you don't regret it. You made the right choice in both of those situations, you know. So
you know, I wonder sometimes if some of it is sensitivity and some of it is arrogance too when it comes to those kind of things, because you start to believe that you can find a way around it.
Yeah.
I'm so smart and thoughtful that that I ought to be able to figure out some solution to weave all these impossibilities together. But that's the crux of that issue, is sometimes things they just have to end, you know, and that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And, maybe being a songwriter is a way for you to kind of work through that. Not that you want to write
Absolutely.
songs about firing people, but certainly there's plenty of songs about breaking up with people. And so
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
You can kind of take those emotions and, work it out in your songs. I mean,
I think we've just come up with an entire album worth of material in this conversation.
I was going to tell you with regard to what you just said. So what is the name of that? We were talking earlier off of the air, so to speak. So this Phoebe Bridgers girl,
Yeah,
the song I'm talking about is called Motion Sickness. And it turns out that she writes this song, heartbroken, about a relationship she had with Ryan Adams, of all things, when she was 20 and he was 40, by the way. But to that point of things ending and stuff, if you check that song out, because it's the way she writes is very interesting and real introspective. But I think it captures a lot of that thing of I think to start the whole song, it says something about I hate you. It's essentially I hate you for what you did, but I think about you like a little kid. You know what I mean? Like I hate that all this is stopping. That's it. It's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it has to,
We should talk about what to promote and things like that, right, Justin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of stopping, we're getting close to our stopping
Yeah.
point. So
my wife came in here a second ago and put something in this little cabinet over here, and I think it was a implicit symbol.
Yeah.
Signal.
So we'll get you out of here. So we've talked a lot about promoting, the shows you just played. And I had one more point about that, because I know Jason's a big fan of your band now, and maybe he has been for a while, but after the shows, he's told me all about, how awesome it was to see you. And he sent me a video of y'all playing, and there's a guy in his band that's also a pretty big fan of y'all. And I want to get your perspective on what's it like playing with Jaret. Were you a fan of Bowling for Soup? Were you aware of them?
I was. I wasn't as big of a punk guy as Blaze was. When he pitched this to me, I wasn't aware of who Jaret Ray Reddick was. But after I realized that's the Bowling for Soup guy, I'm like, oh, I know these guys. That's incredible. Yeah. And what is crazy though is that his air, the air about that guy, his vibe, whatever you want to call it, he was so damn cool to us.
Yeah.
It wasn't like playing with a heavyweight, because he doesn't act that way.
Right.
Super approachable was he told us, man, I'm just so glad, excited y'all let us get on this ticket. Like what? Like we're the ones that are supposed to be, over the moon, and we were. At any rate, it's awesome, and it was awesome to play with him, and he's a real good one to watch stage wise, because that's one of my weakest points, I believe, is stage presence. I don't mind talking to people in conversation. I'm not really a dancer. I don't like to dance, if that tells you anything about who I am. I don't like people watching my movements that much.
Yeah.
So I'm all the time working on how to present our package physically too. You know what I mean? How to be. And Jaret has a super ease with regard to all that stuff, and the timing of what comes next, and when he talks and all that kind of stuff was fabulous. You know what I mean? So, I can't wait. We play with you guys again. We need to get Jaret out here and Jason to the. I don't mean to just talk about it all the time, but it's our main little
I think
spot
that's the
out
only
here.
place. That's like the only place to go, right? When you play this kind of music, is to go out there, right? That's all I ever hear about.
There's another place called Cook's Garage.
Oh, I have heard of Cooks. Yep.
A buddy of mine Trevor is a cook. I'm not sure how that whole hierarchy works, but he's about our age, and they have built out. So they have a restaurant, a quote unquote bus barn that'll probably hold, my gosh, 800.
Mhm.
And then they built the outdoor thing that who was the biggest one they had? They've had Parker come through there. I think the capacity out around that thing, they've had 10,000.
Oh wow.
So there's a spot for those big shows too at that place, you know.
I went out to Lubbock, some festival they put on there that Bowling for Soup played. It was Bowling for Soup and the not the Gin Blossom, sorry. Bowling for Soup and the Toadies and who was it?
Collective Soul, maybe?
Collective Soul. Soul. That's what it was.
That's probably the FMX birthday bash. It's
I don't
probably
think that's
one
what it
of
was.
those.
It was this past November.
Oh, it was recent.
Yeah,
I remember
Yeah.
that show.
Yeah, it was
Well,
weird.
how was it? Was it
a
weird?
Show. It was pretty weird. But I mean, people were there. People came out. People came to see, to see the bands.
Were they
and
weird, kind of weird people?
Some of them were a little bit.
There's a
But
few.
It was funny because like the crowd like shifted, I think, as the opening bands because the opening band were like more of a, I don't know, like a redneck rock type band. I don't even remember what their name was, but they it was a very very rough and rowdy kind of crowd. But then as the night went on, it was like Bowling for Soup, and then the Toadies, and then like more of a. Well, anyway, it was like the crowd was a much more I don't know, pop punk type like fan base that would be there for 90s rock, Like
I love that first band was a redneck rock band.
It was total like a redneck rock and roll band, and I can guarantee I can't remember the name of the band, but if you talk to those guys, that'd probably be exactly how they describe themselves because they were very proud about it.
They wore it.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah, very proud about it.
So Mason, let's talk about what you got coming up next. Upcoming shows.
Okay.
I've got the list here on the screen, but you can tell us all
you're going
about
back
it.
to
There we
Turkey.
go. That's perfect. Yeah. So that turkey, I know I'm long winded, so let me try to keep this short so we can get out of here. That Cinco de Mayo show in Turkey is fun. I don't know if you guys ever been out there. It's just an old hotel, 100 and some odd year old hotel. That's been kept up with. They got a great patio. They've got a bigger place out behind all that opens up into a big old yard type deal. I'm not sure well would be set up, but that'll be a blast. San Angelo's our first time there.
Nice.
Muleshoe, this is awesome because this is a Mexican bar, 100%. If you look at this OK West thing, they don't advertise one damn word in English, but they wanted us, so I'm super stoked about that. Y'all have to keep up because I'm gonna make a sick promo for that one. I'm gonna do 100% Spanish and probably shooting some pistols and all kinds of stuff. Then the Amarillo Will Rogers Rodeo in the 30th of June, and then in Brownfield at the Jamaica. That is not Jamaica. That is Jamaica.
Oh, I thought it was Jamaica. I was like Jamaica.
No,
Festival.
that is like we played it last year. That is like a deal sponsored by the Catholic, one of the Catholic churches there. Again, that largely Hispanic thing. We have a lot of connection in this community, which is so cool. We played last year and thought, man, I don't know if this vibe is going to be something they like or what. They loved it right away. Got the re-invite, so we're stoked. At any rate, we'll get down later on in the year. I'm certain that we'll be getting down towards the neck of the woods where you guys are at, and a lot of the listeners are probably down at too.
Very cool. And while we're doing upcoming shows, Jason, you want to talk about what you got this week?
Yeah, we're coming back to DFW area. Got Lava Cantina on Thursday, Lola's on Friday, and Three Links, which is like right across the street from Trees.
Okay.
On Saturday. That's going to be an acoustic show, which we've never done before, so that should be fun.
Dude, y'all are
It's
laying them.
Man.
Y'all are back to back in this thing, dude. 13, 14, 15, 17, 18.
So the 17th and the 18th is actually just going to be Jaret. Jaret's doing like a little radio tour thing. So he's going to go. He's going to play in Abilene on the 17th, and it's like a little song swap. And what I heard is that's actually sold out or about to be sold out. That was what I heard the other day.
Sick.
But then and it's like a Monday.
Yeah, that's weird.
You're saying the one in Abilene?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But then the 18th, all of that's like a radio thing. So Jaret does these radio tours. He did one in like Oklahoma and somewhere else. I don't know where all he went. But when he does these radio interviews, when he goes from place to place, he tries to set something up in all the places so he can actually, get more bang for his buck as he's
for sure
to do these radio promotions.
That 18th in at Golden Light Cantina, a friend of mine named Arcadio owns that place, and that's a real cool room. It's not a big room, and it's kind of wood clad. It gets a nice warm sound. It's a nice little place to play. I like that.
That's awesome. Well, I can guarantee you that if we could put something else together, we'd love to. I can almost guarantee you that we could get these bands back together, because I think we all had a blast. And we actually I think more than once it was said, like, it was the end of the second night. It was like, we should have 3 nights.
Yeah, we brought a power package to the people, man.
We sure did.
That was no, seriously, that was awesome. I'd love to do it again, and I'm sure we can arrange it.
Awesome.
And will.
Well, Mason, as we kind of ride off the sunset, I gotta drop this photo here. You're on a horse here.
Yeah, man, that's my buddy Sean's roping horse, and I'm not a roper, and I'm not an expert horseman, but I am a decent amateur horseman. And I will say that horse was a little bit scary, because that horse knew that I wasn't the rider, and so I took it out of the little corral where it was at, and I did not give it the gas, man. I swear to God. The owner, my friend Sean, he said, "Damn, man, you didn't even warm him up or nothing." And all I did was give just a little nudge, and he took off. So. We filmed some sleazy promo stuff with that day. We're always trying to be creative with the. It's like if you have this vision of some deal or whatever, just do it. You know what I mean? We should do a horse and a pistol shooting and shit. Well, everybody's got a camera now. Do it.
Yeah,
I got all kinds of buddies with ponies, man. Let's saddle one up.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of buddies with pistols too.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Well, speaking of those promos, how can people see those promos? How can people find Mason in the Gin Line?
So Mason in the Gin Line, you can find us at masonginline.com, I believe is the name of that. And then on everything else, Instagram, we have a TikTok. I'm not a TikTok guy. Facebook, Twitter, you can find us at Mason in the Gin Line. And anywhere you look, just Google it. We're there.
Yeah.
The
Well,
only
we
Mason
appreciate
in the
having
Gin
you.
Line.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what you know what? Before we end, what that Gin Line thing is about? It's funny that name ended up sticking, because it was only a way down the line kind of thought. But the Gin Line is in a cotton gin. It's the line of gin stands, which is the gin stand is actually the gin, the Eli Whitney thing, where the seed gets separated from the cotton. There are a row of machines that make that happen, and is the gin line. So, but I like that sometimes people think it's about alcohol or whatever. I like that people don't know what it's about, but that is what it is.
Well, we'll
Very
edit
cool.
that part out so we can keep it a secret.
Right.
Right.
No, just
Mystery.
kidding. We don't edit shit out, so
No.
I don't blame you. That's better that way.
Yeah, we just go live. So it was great to have you on the show. Again, check out Mason and Gin Line if you can see them in your area. They're also available on social media, and so are we, right, Jason? We're on Instagram and Twitter at LFDT Pod. LFDT, of course, stands for Let's Freaking Do This. We're also available on Facebook, right, Jason?
That's what they tell me.
If you can find us. Yeah, if you can find us there. But, again, Mason, it's great to have you on the show. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you guys for having me. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we want to thank everybody who's watching this now or maybe later on YouTube. And, hey, if you're watching this, do us a favor. Like this video. Subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. And, hey, we're also available on podcast platforms like Spotify and Stitcher. So if you prefer to listen to the audio version as opposed to watching us, you can do that on those platforms. But if you're on Spotify, little secret, our videos are on Spotify also. You can watch the video podcast on Spotify, and it might even look better because it's going to be smaller on your phone. So check us out there. We appreciate that. Follow us in all these places. All that stuff helps us out. And so thanks again to Mason for joining us.
Yes, sir.
Jason,
thank you all.
Any final words before we get out of here, Jason?
I'm just glad we got to spend the time with Mason here because he's one of my favorite people now.
Yeah. So cool.
For sure.
So,
Likewise.
yeah. So for Mason and for Jason, this is Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you later. Have a good night. Bye-bye.